Lena Juarez, founder of JEJ and Associates and executive director of Florida Agritourism Association, joins me and Chad virtually to explain the importance agritourism has on farms and ranches in producing additional income for owners. We hope you enjoy.
In Our Expert Opinion podcast is brought to you by SVN Saunders Ralston Danzler Real Estate, a full-service land and commercial brokerage with over $4 billion in transactions since 1996.
Okay, welcome back to In Our Expert Opinion. Dan Brooks, our property manager, said that we should have a show afterward, a podcast afterwards called In Our Honest Opinion.
Not so expert opinion,
I know.
but more honest.
I said that I wanted a podcast named Confrontations, where we just bring people in and we can all confront each other. It doesn't have to be about anything current. You know, you can bring up past stuff or maybe future stuff that you're considering too.
So are you confronting issues or each other?
Each other. Issues with each other.
You know who we don't have confrontation with?
Who?
Lena.
Oh, Lena Juarez. She might
What
have
a segue.
She might have confrontation between us though, because it took us 22 minutes to get our
Act together.
yeah, and we actually never did. So we're kind of on a wing and a prayer here, which is how I usually
That's life.
am. Yeah, I know. Anyways, we have Lena Juarez on virtual with us today. Unfortunately, not in studio, but that is because you are located in Tallahassee.
Yes.
And you are the founder of JEJ, is it Associates?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And you are a consulting firm for like local governments or not-for-profits, companies. What else?
I think you covered it.
Okay. And when did you start your company?
Oh, a very long time ago, more than 2 decades.
So you have plenty of experience and you basically run Tallahassee as far as I'm concerned.
You're very generous.
And then you also are the executive director of the Florida Agritourism Association,
Yes.
which I did not know was a thing until maybe like Friday when I got an email with your biography. And
Well, we've been around for about 10 years. So it's agritourism is flourishing in Florida.
I should be familiar with it because I was born and raised in Florida. I practice in Florida, like my life is in Florida.
Sometimes I wonder if Linda's been around for 10 years.
It's the Botox. I look that young, so that's great. Yeah, so we are so excited to have you on the pod today because I think that agritourism is going to really, relate to our listeners, our landowners, buyers. It is a major, I guess, economic tool in Florida. Do any other states have these types of associations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All around the whole United States.
Yeah. Do you think that Florida is probably the best one, though?
We're striving to be.
And you were saying that the bill helps out as well, correct? That Welton helped put into place?
He amended it when he was Senate president to make it even better. But initially, it was actually Representative Neil Combie, who many of you might know from, Lakeland area.
Yeah.
That helped.
Polk
that
County.
passed the bill.
Yeah. So can you just explain a little bit about what it is and how agritourism was set up, kind of what it encompasses, just to give us a little overview for those who don't know, which could be me.
Sure. Well, agritourism has been around since the beginning of time, but it's become more recognized and defined, probably in this past decade, certainly by the Florida legislature. And essentially, it takes the top 2 industries of Florida, tourism and agriculture, and we have agritourism. So it's a great opportunity for farms and ranchers to expand their offerings. The legislation in 2013 essentially protects farmers. It gives them liability protection to invite the public to their farm for agritourism events and activities. So you think about it, Florida has 21 million residents. We have over 125 million visitors a year. And you think about the opportunities for farms and ranches to offer agritourism activities. And while the statute has a definition of agritourism, it isn't essentially, it's broad enough to allow farmers and ranchers to be very entrepreneurial in what they consider agritourism. But basically it is fruit and vegetable, you pickets, fall festivals. So you might think of pumpkin patches and crop mazes. We have a lot of members who have venues. So you think about weddings, maybe some corporate retreats happen there, other gatherings. Agritourism is very broad, and it's a very exciting time for Florida's farmers.
Yeah, and this bill protects the landowner, I guess, from like injury or death, so long as there's not some kind of like wanton or gross negligence on their part. But, these landowners can't think of everything that could go wrong. So this is like a level of protection for them, for people that are coming onto their land.
Correct.
Okay. Good.
And it also protects them for like neighboring properties that if they host an event, they're welcome to do that. They're invited to host events, and as long as they're not grossly impeding on the neighbor, then the state wants them to do that. It's a revenue source. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's mostly supplemental income to the farmer, correct? Obviously, there's places that have built their business around the tourism part of it, more so than the agricultural side of it, like a wedding venue.
Well, actually, the statute was subsequently amended. Initially, when it was passed, it was considered supplemental or secondary income as it's defined in statute, but that was stricken in the past few years. So
I'd almost think that it would have to be because of these like wedding venues. I'm sure that they're raking in like a lot of money just by having a barn that people can dance in.
Right.
Is there a difference? There has to be difference between agritourism wedding venues and just a wedding venue.
There could be. It depends on the agritourism ones have to be located on bona fide land, on agricultural land. So, and that is defined in the statute. And, there are all kinds of wedding venues throughout Florida, not on farmland. So those are regulated differently.
Okay.
And I know we talked on the phone yesterday, but how do these landowners know, that this is available to them? Are they hearing it from word of mouth, or is the association advertising to these owners? How are they, getting their information?
All of the above.
Okay.
So we try our best to reach out to agricultural groups, to our existing members, and encourage them to spread the word about agritourism, particularly if they've had a very positive experience. And we have an annual conference that's coming up in July 28th through 30th in Kissimmee. And this will be our second one. And we really encourage any farmer or rancher, or those that are even interested in agritourism, to come and learn more about it.
And
plug it.
I know.
What is an attendee going to expect to come to one of those?
We had a sold out conference last year. We really didn't know what to expect. It was our first one. we chose a venue that ended up being too small. We were in Gainesville, and so we have moved to the Central Florida area simply because we know there's going to be such great interest in this conference. There's so many educational opportunities. You're going to learn about just the basics of agritourism law, the kind of insurance you might need, how to be a good neighbor, anything related to marketing and social media practices, good practices. And of course, we'll have a lot of great speakers and amazing networking opportunities.
I would actually like to talk about how to be a good neighbor, because I'm sure that when a farmer or rancher gets into agritourism, that there's probably some disruption, in the neighborhood, which could be thousands of acres away. But do you deal with a lot of turmoil from neighboring properties, neighboring landowners, them kind of not wanting maybe a venue near them because this is not the way that it has, ever been. And so, do you guys do like conflict resolution?
Well, we try. I mean, we're not official mediators, though we try our best to guide our members in how to be a good neighbor. There always are conflicts with local government when you're starting a new endeavor. But a few years ago, one of the other amendments to the statute was to add agritourism to the Right to Farm Act. And that happened when Wilton Simpson was the Senate president. Now he's our agricultural commissioner. So it's good to know that we have that support and faith in agritourism. I think that in general, our farmers and ranchers that are members, we encourage them to be good neighbors by knowing what the regulations related to off-site impacts in their communities might be.
And that's parking, lighting, sound.
Traffic.
Yeah.
Yes. You don't want to have like a big event on Saturday without letting your neighbors know and potentially hiring off-duty law enforcement to manage it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see where maybe some owners would be not so open to having neighbors that are, getting into agritourism. But especially in this office, we hear a lot about how ranchers and farmers often have a difficult time staying afloat. And so I think that it's important that they have these additional revenue streams coming to them because we need them to stay doing what they're doing, which is like growing food, and I was gonna say growing like trees.
Well, it's true. The foresters can be agritourism operators too. And, some years, farmers or ranchers just don't have a good year. The crop didn't come in. Something happens in the market. We have a natural disaster, and there needs to be an opportunity to create additional income. And agritourism activities don't necessarily happen year round. It really depends on what assets you have on your farm and what you decide to organize. Some of our members might have one event a year, others have them almost every weekend. So it really depends on what your goal is and what you're wanting to promote.
Yeah, and I think, is every farm or agriculture land a good property to have agritourism on?
It really depends because maybe your land isn't very accessible.
Yeah.
To the general public. Like, would a visitor or even a Floridian drive an additional 10 miles to your property to go to a festival? That's something that is important to assess before you launch your event. And then maybe you have a dairy and you want to bring the school kids to learn about your production and just what happens on a farm. And so some of our members have contracts with school districts, and they will bring the kids during the fall and spring months only to see how the operation works.
Is the association, do you guys have resources to help the owners assess if their property is appropriate for, having these sorts of activities on it?
We have many colleagues that can help do
Okay.
that, and we do our best. We do our best to help as well.
Yeah, that is, I know that I would drive 10 miles, but that's because I basically live in my car. But I know my friend Bridget would not drive another 2 minutes to go somewhere. So yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And then
Go ahead.
how did they become involved in the association?
You can just join. Visit floridafarms.com. That's our website, and there's a button that says join. So we have over 400 members. It's been absolutely amazing that we've grown that much, considering that as of the last U.S. Census, 700 farms identify as offering agritourism. So that's pretty tremendous. Now, granted, there are 44,000 farms and ranches in Florida, covering 9.7 million acres. So you think about that, and not every farmer or rancher necessarily wants to do agritourism on their property, but this statute gives them the opportunity and the protection to do so. And we, as the association, try to offer the best resources for our members to be successful.
And you have a bunch of them. Looking at the website, there's a ton of resources on there.
Yes. The toolkit, going back to your earlier question, might be one of the best resources we have particularly for farmers and ranchers that are thinking about agritourism. It's almost like a 101 on how to start an agritourism operation.
Did you consult with whomever to get this bill passed? Were you involved in that?
I actually was not. Our founder is Lisa Arge. She's a longtime friend and colleague, and she was engaged in that. And I joined the association, I don't know, maybe a year or two later. And it's been an adventure ever since.
Yeah, really. Did you grow up on a farm or on a ranch?
I did not. I am a native Floridian, proudly so, from Orlando area. And so my background is really on the tourism side. And so I bring a different perspective to farmers and ranchers because I've worked in the tourism industry, really know a lot about that side of the equation for agritourism.
I know. What did you say? How many tourists visit Florida a year? Was it 125 million?
Over, yes, according to Visit Florida.
Yeah, and they're all on I-4, every last one of them.
Well, it's an opportunity for, if there's an event happening with agritourism, it's a great opportunity for visitors to stay an extra day and go to these events. I just think it's a really exciting time, and it's broadening our tourism reach in the state.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, for people to know that there's not just, these, what do you call Disney? What do you call this?
Theme park?
Yeah. These theme parks, that there are other, fun activities that you can take your kids to, or even as adults. I know yesterday we talked about homesteading, that I have a friend that's offering homesteading classes, and I was asking if that would fall under this agritourism kind of protection. But, it's like adults that are taking that class or these classes. And I just think, I would never have known about that if your name hadn't, if you weren't on the podcast. But I mean, so where are you guys, where's the association like advertising? Do you guys do like social media advertising, or do you have commercials on TV?
Wow, now that would be amazing if we could get to the commercial state. No, primarily it's on social media. So we have a couple publications that we've published in the past, including that big USA Today, that they do for travelers once a year. But I'm not sure that's still happening. So yes, primarily social media.
Yeah, that is, I don't know. It's interesting because I don't know many farmers and ranchers that are on socials,
It's becoming a lot more prevalent for sure.
I guess so, if they're having like venues and stuff on their properties, and they're probably doing a lot of social media advertising.
Yeah, I would think that the agritourism people are the first adopters.
Yeah.
The most prevalent on social media. But as far as just farmers, ranchers, I mean, they're in business, so.
They're on their tractors. They're not on their phones.
Right.
Yeah. But
TikTok and tractor drivers.
it's terrifying. But at your conference that's coming up in July, you were saying that you have some sessions that maybe you're going over social media practices with these. That's incredible. And do you have like, we have experts that come on our podcast. So would you consider the people leading these sessions experts in marketing, advertising, social media?
Yes. So we try to bring just really high quality people to our conference. In fact, we have a call for speakers out right now. So if anyone listening to this podcast is interested in presenting at our conference, get in touch with us at visitfloridafarms.com. Through those, we have our phone number and our email address on there.
Very nice.
And now I want to get into a little bit about your business, JEJ, and what it is that you all do. I know you kind of cover a broad range of topics, but what does your like day-to-day look like for consulting?
That was my next question.
Every day is different. Balancing my governmental consulting practice and the association work can be challenging, particularly during the legislative session, which is in the spring every year for 60 days. And it is fast-paced, it is intense, it is really busy with people from all over the state coming to Tallahassee, all the elected officials, all 160 of them in the Senate and the House, convening to do business for the state of Florida and get it done in those 60 days. So there's a lot of preparation to be ready for that in the months prior. And then there's a lot of follow-up to do once the session is over. We just completed the 2024 legislative session 2 weeks ago, and the governor is gradually receiving bills and signing them, or he's vetoed a few. So it's really exciting because you can be a part of influencing public policy, achieving your clients' goals, or getting appropriations for them.
Yeah, and then I'm sure because you said that you've been in the business for, I think it was 2 decades, that at this point you just have people that are coming to you. You're not really having to go out and seek new clients.
Always seeking new clients, just like always seeking new members for agritourism. So,
yeah, good point.
She's seeking new lobbyists also. She was trying to recruit you yesterday.
Now, are you like going to the Capitol every day?
when the members are there,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. Okay. And you're having to sit through, I shouldn't say having to, but you are sitting through these sessions in person.
Yes. So the way the legislature has a series of committee meetings, they schedule certain, they mark off certain weeks in the months leading up to the session where there'll be either informational sessions or they'll actually start considering bills once they're filed. And so you have to be present to win. You must be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And I think you said that you a lot of times were a part of like a larger team. So it's not necessarily just you running around with 60 clients, that you have, multiple people on this team that are helping to push through bills, or I don't even know what you'd call them at this point. I don't know a thing about it.
Legislation.
Yeah. And so are you working with a lot of like other companies?
Yes. So sometimes a client will hire multiple lobbyists. So you're part of a team to achieve the goal of a client. But then there's a lot of advocacy efforts. And so there'll be many associations or companies who form a coalition that will try to achieve or protect an industry. So one example is the Florida Agritourism Association is part of the Ag Coalition. And so that group of individuals represents different associations, different companies that are concerned and care about the agricultural industry in Florida. And we meet during the session weekly.
And then because you are an advocate for your own clients, it seems like that's the perfect fit for you to be the executive director of the Agritourism Association, because, you have a lot of those skills that I think farmers and ranchers would need in order for, their voices to be heard. Because I feel like a lot of times they maybe get pushed to the wayside, or maybe they feel like a little bit left out.
It depends. I mean, there's ebbs and flows through the years, and it's been really fantastic that we have our commissioner, Wilton Simpson, who is a farmer, a successful farmer, and is leading the Department of Agriculture right now. And he really understands the challenges that farmers face on all levels. And so having been the former Senate president is particularly helpful too, because now that he's part of the executive branch, having been a part of the legislative branch is incredibly helpful.
Yeah. And so how do you help these, farmers and ranchers kind of get their voices heard?
Well, one of the association, we sort of have a three-pronged goal to be a member of the association. We provide obviously the educational opportunities, legislative advocacy, as you've pointed out. So that really helps because with me as executive director, you get a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
And and then and obviously we provide the networking opportunities through our activities, events, and resources. And so just in helping the agritourism operators, we want to make sure that the statute is strong, and that we do our very best to share with other parties, what we're trying to achieve. And I appreciate this opportunity to be on the podcast because that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, I think yesterday you said that you guys have an app.
Yes, I highly recommend if you have an Apple or Android phone. I think you just type Visit Florida Farms, and you can download it for free. And if you allow location services, you can. It'll push notifications to you about farms in the area that are offering agritourism events.
And that's for anybody. That doesn't have to be. You don't have to be a part of the association.
Correct. Yes. So we have a very robust presence on Facebook and social media. So that is one of the places that we put a lot of our information about what our members are doing.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
No, I love it. Love the spotlighting on some of these smaller businesses that are, trying to make it, farmers that,
Yeah.
We need them and they've got to grow, and this is supplemental income sometimes. And, sometimes full-time business. Like loved yesterday when you said that Robert is here as the, what'd you say, longest standing agritourism business in
Yes.
Florida?
Yes, they're located in the Redlands, and they're a tropical fruit grower. And I highly recommend, if you're on your way to the Keys or coming from the Keys and going to
smoothie.
South Florida, that you stop there for a milkshake. They're
Get it.
delicious.
What is it?
So the reason why I know it, I fish a lot in Flamingo. So as you're leaving Miami and heading towards Flamingo, you drive right past it, and it's perfect after you get off the water. You know, coming out hour and a half out of or from the boat ramp to there, stop, get a milkshake, get a smoothie, see the zebras. They still have zebras?
They might.
That's incredible.
They have a lot of things going on there all the time.
It's been 2, maybe 3 years since I've been able to get down
You know
there,
how
so.
you'll know if they have zebras and stuff? If you download the app.
Uh-huh.
It'll be able to tell you what they've got going on over there. Okay, well, is there anything else that you want to add for either JEJ or the Agritourism Association?
Well, since you asked me here as the Agritourism Association Exec Director, I just want to encourage farmers and ranchers to contact us if they're thinking about doing agritourism, or if they're having questions about how to further their existing operation. I mean, it's just a really great opportunity to showcase what's happening here in Florida. I mean, a lot of people just want to get away and enjoy the outdoors, be outside. And I really think that agritourism is going to continue to boom, particularly in Florida, into this next decade or more. So I just thank you for this opportunity to talk with you all and your listeners just about what agritourism is all about.
Definitely. And I should have asked this earlier, but are there tax incentives for these farmers and ranchers to do any sort of agritourism on their properties?
Just the regular ones that you receive as a bona fide farm.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming on. This was definitely,
It's great.
I know, a new learning experience for me. And yeah, I feel like now, not that I talk to farmers and ranchers often, but you never know. It's like the ace up the sleeve at this point. I'll have something to talk to them about.
Yeah.
Or I can help them download the app.
Here, you in agritourism?
Oh my gosh. Well, Lena, thank you so much. Everyone, please go visit. I'm sorry, what is the website, Lena?
Visit floridafarms.com.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Lena.
Thank you so much.